The 2025 Formula One season has given us many unforgettable moments, but none as shocking as what just unfolded inside the McLaren camp. What should have been a fair, hard-fought championship battle between two of the sport's brightest young stars has spiraled into a dramatic power struggle, full of accusations, favoritism, and betrayal. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are no longer just teammates. They're rivals locked in a cold war, with the world title hanging in the balance. And now, after a fiery incident at the Singapore Grand Prix, fans, drivers, and even F1 commentators are calling for McLaren to step in. But is the team really playing fair? Or is there a deeper agenda behind the scenes, one that sacrifices one driver's future for the other's glory? If you're passionate about Formula One and want to understand how this scandal could reshape the championship, make sure to subscribe because this story might just change everything you thought you knew about McLaren. The tension that has been simmering inside McLaren's garage all season long has finally erupted, and the Singapore Grand Prix was the moment that pushed everything past the point of no return. What should have been a straightforward championship fight between two talented young drivers, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, has transformed into a story of betrayal, favoritism, and deep internal conflict. And at the centre of it all is a team that seems unable, or perhaps unwilling, to control the chaos it helped create. The controversy exploded when Norris made a highly questionable move to overtake Piastri during the Singapore race, a manoeuvre that many in the paddock described as overly aggressive and potentially dangerous. Piastri, understandably furious, immediately called out his team over the radio, asking if they were cool with Lando just barging me out of the way. But instead of backing their Australian star, who has been leading McLaren's title charge, the team's response was to brush it off, with CEO Zak Brown insisting that they were simply letting them race. But this incident wasn't an isolated one. Throughout the season, McLaren's decisions have repeatedly suggested a bias toward Norris. The most glaring example came in Monza, where Piastri was instructed to give back a position to Norris after a slow pit stop, a move that infuriated fans and analysts alike. It was yet another example of what many are calling Papaya politics. Team orders and decisions that consistently seem to favour one driver over the other. F1 commentator Martin Brundle didn't mince his words. He believes that the relationship between Piastri and Norris has now been fundamentally damaged. The dynamics between the two McLaren drivers will irrevocably change going forward, Brundle told Sky Sports. It was only a matter of time. Perhaps McLaren should just let them fight it out gloves off with zero interference. But even he admitted that doing so carries massive risks. If the rivalry escalates into all-out war, McLaren could lose valuable points, suffer in the constructors' standings, and hand Red Bull and Max Verstappen the perfect opportunity to snatch the titles away. What makes Piastri's frustration even deeper is that the one rule McLaren insisted on, no contact between teammates, was broken during the Singapore clash. And yet, once again, there were no consequences for Norris. That decision sent a clear message. McLaren appears to tolerate certain behaviour from one driver that it might not from the other. After the race, Piastri disconnected his team radio and visibly distanced himself from the team during their constructors' title celebrations, a silent but powerful statement of discontent. Former driver David Coulthard offered a brutally honest assessment of the situation, recalling his own experiences with team orders during his time in Formula One. "You can only meddle so much before it becomes unfair," Coulthard said. "The sensitivity of a race driver is such that fair has to be fair. And right now, to Piastri and many watching around the world, things do not feel fair." But perhaps the most shocking development to emerge from this growing tension is the rumour that Piastri could be preparing an exit plan. According to Swiss outlet Blick, the Australian is setting his sights on a potential move to Ferrari, possibly as soon as 2027. That's an extraordinary twist, considering McLaren only recently extended Piastri's contract beyond 2026, with most reports suggesting the deal runs until the end of 2028. While such a move might seem unlikely today, the speculation alone underscores just how strained the situation has become. The timing of these rumours is no coincidence. Formula One is set for a major reset in 2026, with new regulations likely to shake up the competitive order. At the same time, the driver market could go into chaos. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc might reconsider his future if the Scuderia continues to underperform, and Lewis Hamilton has the option to extend his deal through 2027. If both drivers move, or if Ferrari decides to radically restructure, a seat could open for Piastri, and given his rising star power, Ferrari would undoubtedly see him as a prime target. For now, though, the focus remains on 2025, and the internal storm at McLaren shows no sign of calming down. Norris's controversial win in Singapore has cut Piastri's championship lead to just 22 points. It's the third race in a row that Piastri has lost ground, and the psychological pressure is clearly beginning to show. His radio messages have become increasingly frustrated, and insiders say that people up and down the paddock believe he's struggling to cope with the intensity of his first title fight. Meanwhile, with the constructors' title already secured, McLaren may choose to ease internal restrictions, allowing their drivers to fight without interference. On paper, that sounds exciting, but it could also be a recipe for disaster. Without clear rules or support, the rivalry could spiral into open hostility, risking race-ending collisions and further damaging the relationship between team and driver. The bigger question, though, is whether McLaren understands the magnitude of the crisis it faces. This is no longer just a teammate rivalry, it's a trust issue. If Piastri feels the team isn't backing him, his motivation, loyalty, and future commitment could all be in jeopardy. And if the rumours of a Ferrari switch gain momentum, McLaren might soon find itself fighting not just for championships, but to keep one of the brightest talents in the sport from walking away. With just a handful of races left and the gap between the two drivers shrinking, all eyes are now locked on McLaren as the grid heads to Austin for the United States Grand Prix. One thing is certain: the drama inside the Papaya garage is far from over, and the decisions made in the coming weeks could shape not just this season's title battle, but the future of Formula One itself. So here's the million-dollar question: is McLaren really playing fair, or are they quietly building their future around Lando Norris at Oscar Piastri's expense? And if that's the case, will Piastri be willing to stick around? Or are we witnessing the first signs of a blockbuster Ferrari move in 2027? Let me know what you think in the comments, because the fallout from this rivalry might not just decide the 2025 championship. It could reshape the future of Formula One itself.